within 2 weeks, our business or our project together ended. So we had it going for 3 years. It was like, I loved it. It was a great time in my life. But within 3 weeks, it ended. And he went into treatment. Welcome back. Episode 84. All right, guys. So I want to run something by you. I recently spoke to an amazing individual you'll be meeting soon, probably roughly 5 podcasts from now, named Kim Yabsley. And Kim Yabsley was talking to me about some of my backstory because she interviewed me for her podcast as well. And I told her a story, which I'm about to tell you guys. And she said to me, I feel like having a breakdown as an entrepreneur is normal and everyone has it. Or it's almost like a rite of passage. And I'm just curious if you guys feel the same way. Are we supposed to have breakdowns? Is that like part of the journey? That sucks. That sucks hard, right? I think back to so I'll tell you the story in a minute, which got me into this, and there's twofold in this story. There's one of a previous person that I worked with. We had a business venture together, and it happened to him. And then I started to have my own minor breakdown within the old business that I used to run. So I'm going to paint the picture for you. I want to walk you through this story, and then I'm curious to see what you guys think. Like, what's your thoughts on breakdowns? Like, yeah, and why do we have them? And why can't we see the signs on the wall? Why can't we make changes when we're right thick in the middle of the spiral of it coming to us? So here's the situation. So I was in Egypt. Yes, the country Egypt. And in my previous venture, I've mentioned it before, I used to run a club for entrepreneurs, and we would basically go out to different countries and do sort of social entrepreneurial work. It was an amazing time of my life. We built a school in Peru for a small community called the Wilak community. We did some charitable work with orphanages in Mongolia. We did work with a couple of really cool social enterprises in Cambodia. Lots of really amazing places that we went. And my role, I was the co-founder. So I essentially worked with another speaker, and he would sell people in from his speaking platform and his I guess personal brand, and then I would run it. I had travel partners, and I'd organize everything, and really cool pillow gifts for the members that would come, and just organize everything. So the club was going really, really well, and the trips were amazing. We were having a lot of fun, and then one day, 6 months prior to our Egypt trip, so my co-founder at the time, there was like writing on the wall that something wasn't quite right. So this guy lived on the road. He did events all over Australia, all over Southeast, a little bit of Southeast Asia. He did Singapore, Hong Kong, and those areas. He did all over the States. He did all over the UK. So he's multiple time zones all the time, circling around the world. Amazing, yes, but also it takes a beating on your body. And he was stressed with the relationships he had with his promoter and his investor back in the States, and there's a lot going on. So I think the stress sort of started to get to him, and he was changing. His personality was changing, and there were little moments of paranoia and things that were coming up where his core inner team were concerned, but he wouldn't take our help, and he wouldn't listen to our concern. And this is that moment where you think, is this like a common thing when we're going through kind of the start of a breakdown, I suppose, or burnout, where we stop hearing advice, or we're isolating ourselves from people that care about us, or we forget that we can ask for help. But that's definitely, looking back, I see that was happening for him. And then when I really started to understand it was happening was when we stopped doing sort of social entrepreneurialism with Egypt. We didn't have that as an element in our trip. It was just strictly bring as many people as you can. Let's go on a boat down the Nile River. And like, we had 120 members. I would always organize mentors as well to come and speak for the group. I feel like we had 20 mentors. You guys, it was huge. And he started pulling out our crew. Basically, he was going to come and assist me. He was just canceling tickets and just weird behaviors, right? We were suddenly going, red flag, something's going on here. And ultimately, what happened is the start of the breakdown happened on the boat in the Nile River. And I'm not going to get into details or anything like that, but I ultimately will say that within a very short amount of time, the the breakdown happened, and um, gosh, it was hard. Like, it was lots of screaming towards me, and not who he was. Right within 2 weeks, our business, or our project together, ended. So we had it going for 3 years. It was like, I loved it. It was a great time in my life, but within 3 weeks it ended. And he went into treatment, and that's how I started digital marketing, is because it ended overnight, and then I fell into digital marketing because some of the other speakers and people in my network were like, I know you also work in the online space, because on the side of doing the club, I was also building a membership site for him. There's like 18,000 people, members in it at launch of his wider, broader community, which the club was high premium, product. So it was the wider community involved in the membership. So I had been doing that. So I was kind of getting my feet wet in social media and digital marketing. And then everything ended overnight. And then I went into my business. And then, so I was telling, Kim in my interview with her a little bit about that story. And then I also started to tell her about my own sort of edge of breakdown. And so that business that I started as a result of leaving the club, and kind of having that pulled out from under me. Some people might say, by the way, oh, you could have kept doing it yourself. It wasn't like that. It was his brand, really. And I was, ran it. So they weren't there for my brand at the time. So I couldn't have kept running it. So I did have to end. So that time I transitioned into my business and I had a business partner that came on, and we grew really, really fast. And we had a team of like 30 people in the Philippines at the time. And so this would have been when we first kind of started, like 15 years, no, like 12 years ago. I think we were just starting in that business. And I ran that for roughly 5 years with him. And in that whole time, we grew really fast. We were probably too much the same in a lot of ways, where they always say with business partners, try and find somebody that complements you. There was just things that were, chaotic and crazy in my first real business, where I wasn't under the umbrella of someone else, and I was out on my own, and I had to, bring in the bacon, so to speak. My partner, who now works in business as our lead developer, he got made redundant. So I was like literally going, all right, I'm bringing home the bacon. How do we do this? And so I would say yes to too many things. And you'll hear a theme in this podcast, that you need to say no and be more discerning. But when you need to pay rent and you need to put food on the table, you're saying yes. And I was saying yes. And I was charging ridiculous low fees. I think I charged $500 for like a website that tapped into email marketing and processed money. It was ridiculous, you guys. I was never going to win. I was stressing. So over that time period, I was trying to grow this business, trying to work it out, trying to say yes to everything. Probably didn't have the best business partner, that we really complemented each other's strengths and weaknesses. And ultimately, I remember I started getting heart palpitations. I started going totally inside and insular. I forgot I could ask for help. I thought I had to do everything by myself. I felt like I started to go into a really dark place. I remember not being able to sleep, having my heart beating out of my chest, like almost seeing things in the room. It was so weird. Like, I just was not in a good way. I felt completely hopeless. I just didn't know what was going on. So in the past, where I felt anger towards my co-founder for the club, and I was like, how dare you have this breakdown and treat me so terribly, and all this stuff, right? Within a few weeks, everything I worked so hard for was basically shut down in front of me. I've changed. I've changed a little my opinions on this. And I look at having these moments in our business where you're teetering on the edge of burnout or breakdown. It's a really tricky place, because I think if you're there or you're coming up to it, you don't necessarily see it. That's when you're like, I just need to hustle. I just need to push through this. I got this. And that's the key. I got this. You forget that there's we and help around that. And it's a dangerous path to be in. And I guess really why I wanted to share this is because after being through a really hard moment and realizing that my old business was not for me, it was not running well, it was making me sick, and I had to make change, but also seeing it with my old co-founder in the club, the entrepreneurial club we had, and then talking about it to my amazing guest, Kim Yabsley, who you guys have to listen to coming up in a few episodes. She's amazing. Through all these conversations and thoughts and memories, I just started thinking, is burnout the normal thing in growing a business? And I hope that we make it not a normal thing. I hope it's not a badge of honor. I hope that, like, for me, I don't like talking about that moment in my life where I was physically and mentally sick. And yeah, I don't wish that upon anyone. So I guess the moral of this story is, if you are feeling in this place where your heart's beating fast all the time, or you can't catch your breath, or you're suddenly thinking, I have to do it, I have to do it, I have to do it, then I urge you to take a step back and realize that maybe you're going down a spiral or a path that is not ultimately healthy for you, and that there's other ways. And I don't know if somebody told me that when I was going through my own, if somebody were to tell me that, I don't know if I would have actually listened, or how I would have listened, or what I would have done, because I was so far gone thinking, I just got to work, 20-hour days. I've just got to get through this, that I don't know if I would have listened. But consider this an awareness episode, and maybe a little prod or a little advice for any of you that are feeling right on the edge and you're thinking, is this normal? Because no, it shouldn't be normal. Yes, working hard. Don't say any, like, this podcast definitely is not about anti-working hard. Working smart and recognizing you can't do it all yourselves. That's what I want you to get from this story. And hopefully there's something in there that helped, and at least gave you kind of a little insight to my journey as well. So you guys, thank you as always for tuning in. I really appreciate you. And please take care of yourselves, no matter where you are in your journey and no matter where you're feeling right now. And if you are doing amazing things in this world, which all of you are, please take a moment to recognize that as well. Like, ultimately, you got this and you're going to get through it. Okay? Talk soon. Bye.